Will it be a Thursday show? Will it be a Wednesday show? Who bloody knows anymore? But one thing we do know is United head to tabletoppers Bromley with promotion firmly in their hands and possibly even aiming to mount an unlikely late title charge. Welcome to the preview show on whatever day of the week it is. I'm Julian Roberts and it's a pleasure to be hosting this week for such a big game. I'm joined by Matt Caspel. Matt, what sort of adjective are you using for this game? I've just gone for big at this stage.
Well, yeah, we sort of talking about this earlier and I feel like now the games have got so big that we're having a contraction and they're sort of getting smaller based on how you describe them, even though they're obviously getting bigger. So like all I said to you earlier was quite a big game.
Yeah.
We've hit that window now where they've become so big that you've had to actually start to like bring them, you're always trying to minimize the size in your mind. Yeah, but they'll get massive again, I think.
Or
if we
also
win,
the sort of the context changes, like the base level of big becomes much bigger than what it was earlier. So big now is just, we assume it's bigger. Do you see what I'm saying?
Big is massive. Big
is massive,
big
exactly.
has become enormous. So now it's just quite big. Yeah. So Grimsby can be big. So that Barrow can be massive again, I guess.
Yeah. And then Crewe can be nothing, hopefully.
Nothing.
Absolutely
pointless.
Nothing.
Yeah, it could be pointless. Yeah.
That's what we hope for. How are you, mate? How was Saturday?
Yeah. Good. Saturday was good. You missed out. As I'm sure you gathered. Smashing that coconut tier money up the wall. Which led to a very late pod release as well. Pretty scandalous, I think.
Yeah. All my fault. Apologies, everyone.
Mate, it was pretty good, to be fair. Probably as good as it looked. Don't know how much you were able to actually track it.
Had it on in an Irish bar in Madrid. It doesn't get much better than that.
Doesn't get much better than that. To be fair, like, I mean, I've watched United on a few stag do's and it's never gone well. I've only ever been, including my own, it's never ever gone well. So I'm not saying I'm jealous of you, but like, something quite fun about being on a stag do.
Yeah.
It's that second day of the stag, so you're sort of in the recovery curve, but by 3-4 p.m. you're fully in the swing of that recovery trend. You're well back on it.
Oh yeah. And the Grand National was on as well, so we had them both on screen to screen. So we were flying.
You got like 20 lads around, and you're like, and they're sort of taking the piss of it, like Cambridge, and then you just go and absolutely muller your promotion rivals. So you're just like, this is great. Sets you off into your night out. Perfect.
And I was thinking about this because obviously I missed the Barnet game recently as well.
Ooh.
And I was thinking, there's a big difference between missing big away and big home game, because big, at least from a personal perspective, big away game, I was like, if you go and beat Barnet 4-0 as we did Notts County, I've missed an incredible day out. Not that I've not missed like a good day out for a home game, but I'm much more bothered about the result when it's a home game than potentially a day. Do you know what I mean?
To be fair, it was between missing Barnet and missing Notts, you've basically like averaged out. You just kind of tipped the scales up perfectly balanced. Like you basically missed nothing if you follow that logic along. If you know what I mean,
I'm with you.
Sort of weird backwards world, because the pain of Barnet, offset by the euphoria of the Notts game. To be honest, I will say, and not to try and piss you off, and I'm sure there's hopefully more good home games to come in the near future. I will say, that is the most I remember enjoying a home game for a number of years.
Well, that's funny. I swear we've said that multiple times this season. I remember specifically the Tranmere game, it being a big conversation, which I also missed actually. Which
it's a common denominator. It's a theme. There's a theme emerging.
I just feel like we've said that a couple of times this year. The Tranmere one, I distinctly remember it being a conversation on the pod afterwards.
Well, what a great season, if that's the case, isn't it?
Yeah, it does say a lot, doesn't it? You could probably chuck Gillingham in there. That was obviously a bit more routine, but yeah. I guess that's sort of that does say a lot. What is your confidence levels like though after Saturday with a few days to mull over it football wise?
Yeah, I think I've come back down to earth, if you know what I mean. A little bit, which is good. Keep staying steady. If you'd have asked me on Sunday, it's like, we're going to win the league. There's no question we're going to win all our games, and we're definitely winning the league. It's just basically a certainty from here. I'm confident because we played really well. I'm interested to see what we do at Bromley, personnel-wise, line-up-wise. I mean, we spoke about it in the review. It's not a shame we're playing Bromley, but you would love to have had like Grimsby at home in this slot, because you could probably have felt like you could just go and do exactly the same game plan, like almost same 11, don't change anything. Well, not quite same 11 for obvious reasons. Same 10, and then a new emergency loan signing keeper. But it's a bit of a rinse and repeat, whereas the fact that it's not just an away game, but it's Bromley away, they're unbeaten, all season or for a calendar year at home.
Yeah.
They're very physical. It's just an entirely different type of test that we haven't had much of this season. And I think for that reason, yeah, that kind of reduces the confidence, but it just means I think it's just a bit of a reality check. It means it's a totally different setup we're going to need to go with. I think we're going to need to approach the game totally differently to how we went at the Notts game. I think it would just be a little bit flippant to say, go do exactly what we did against Notts, just do that at Bromley away, like one of the basically a hardest away game of the season. Like, I just don't think it's at all realistic. I think we'll see a complete reversion to type, the blueprint stuff we've done all season, keeping things very tight away from home, and trying to set ourselves up for sort of last 20 or 30 minutes push at thinking about maybe trying to win the game depending on what the situation is. But I think it will be for as expansive and entertaining and generally just a great football match the Notts game was. I'm expecting this one to be the total opposite in terms of bring a neutral and they will actually raise their eyebrows and think, oh, this is actually quite entertaining. I think it'll be the total opposite to that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And a lot of that is also to do with how Bromley and us kind of set up and approach games in very similar fashions. We'll come on to that in the preview a little bit later on, but I think we should do a bit of run-in chat before we do that, set the scene for it's hard obviously because we play on a Thursday, previewing a weekend quite far out, but the other games of note are MK play Crewe away, Notts play Barnet at home, Swindon play Aki at home, and Salford play Oldham away. Of those, Crewe and Barnet are still in a playoff hunt. Aki are obviously the beachiest team going, and Oldham lost last night in a crazy game at Barrow. I don't know if anyone, if you kept a track of that. The last 10 minutes looked insane, but it kind of sounds like it's knocked Oldham a bit too far away from playoffs from what their fans are saying. So just in terms of what the opposition have got to play for, how many times have you said the word permutations recently? And I gather you've done a bit of research for us.
A lot, mate. Well, I did looking at it all last night. I mean, I love working this stuff out. I'm going to say now, AI has made this a hell of a lot easier than it used to be. Because you pretty much can just go to your chosen AI and give it the fixture list, which is what I did. Give it the league table, make sure it pays attention to the dates and the kickoff times because they're all really relevant. There are scenarios where we can get promoted next Thursday, as in not the Thursday we play Bromley, but the Thursday because Salford are playing Bromley. Salford are hosting Bromley. That will be quite a strange situation. Obviously, we'll say this as football fans, you never want to get promoted.
Yeah.
Not on the day that you're playing, at least, if that makes sense. So it's quite a slender possibility that happens because you basically need to simplify it. For that to happen, we need to win the two, so Bromley and Grimsby, and then Salford need to have better results than Notts and Swindon over Saturday.
Yeah.
It's not Salford have to be the leaders of the pack, if that makes sense, for that to be possible. But then they have to lose to Bromley. The paradox of that is that if we win against Bromley and Grimsby, we're probably going to want Bromley to lose against Salford, so we don't get promoted, and we can still go and win the title. So it's a bit backwards because if that scenario plays out, I think you'd get to next Thursday and not want to get promoted that night in exchange for being able to go on and win the league and knowing you can get promoted by winning against Barrow. Does that make sense?
No, completely. That is quite an interesting paradox, isn't it?
Yeah,
I hadn't really
thought. Yeah, I just hadn't thought about that, but we'll all be potentially, because you're going to meet up, right? You're probably going to go to maybe the Old Spring. Get yourself some kind of deal at the Old Spring, get a skepasti, or something like that. You're going to go to the pub anyway to watch the game, probably with your mates, most likely. But you're sort of going to be not wanting to get promoted. One, because you won't. It just feels it's a bit COVID-y to get promoted when no one is there, if you know what I mean.
Sure. And what happens in that scenario if then that's a draw? That's not enough. It's not enough to send us up, and it's not enough, and it's bad for the title, I guess.
I can't remember because honestly, there are a lot of permutations. Obviously, being 3 or 4 games out with 5 or 6 teams involved makes it many different multiples. I think there's a world then still we can get promoted, even if that is a draw, but I can't actually honestly remember. It's too much. It's too much. Anyway, the next one that I hadn't even clocked is Swindon are the early kickoff on the day that we play Barrow. So there's also a world where we can get promoted at 2:30 just before we play Barrow. I think that would be a lot of fun because you get in the ground early and the full-time whistle goes in that game and you get promoted. And then the teams come out and you're like, this is
Kick-off,
awesome. If pre-kickoff, like
And they play
have your pint.
Grimsby away as well. So what has to happen for that scenario?
Oh, don't, mate. Stop asking these questions.
I thought you did the permutations. What is
I
that?
did some, mate. I'm not AI, okay? I'm not AI, and I never will be. Trust me. I'm getting reminded of that on a daily basis at the moment. Honestly, basically, I'm just highlighting there are a few situations where we can get promoted without us playing at the time, but they're pretty unlikely because they obviously reliant on either Salford or Swindon first getting ahead of the pack, but then also losing at the crucial moment that lets us get promoted. So it's pretty unlikely. What's also possible is we can get 4 points from the two games, so Bromley and Grimsby next Tuesday, and still get promoted. That obviously requires like complete doomsday from the others. It's not as doomsday as you necessarily.
It's not, I'm looking at it now. It's not crazy doomsday, is it?
Well,
I mean,
it's not. Yeah, it's like I think it's Notts have to lose, but it's Salford or Swindon just have to not win, so they can both draw, and then 4 points is enough. So we can draw against Bromley and then beat Grimsby. If Notts have lost at the weekend and then Swindon and Salford are both drawn even but don't win, then it's still there for us next Tuesday. So Tuesday is like it's all coming down to this Bromley game. Again, it's like I can't describe to you how much easier this all gets to work out after the Bromley game, basically. So
yeah.
The hilarious thing is when you first run all the scenarios, you're just like, right, assume that Cambridge beat Bromley away and then beat Grimsby at home next Tuesday, which is like quite a tall order.
Yeah.
When can we get promoted? How quickly can it all happen, basically? But yeah, it's all pretty entertaining stuff.
Yeah, that's for sure. And then what about, did you do the doomsday scenarios for us? If we lose them both?
I did eventually. Oh, don't. If we lose both, I think we can't mathematically do it. I think until the last day. We absolutely can't win the title until the last day anyway. That's quite easy to work out.
Yeah.
Even if we beat Bromley, because they're already on 83 points and we max at 86. So the one thing I will say about Bromley, we got 6 more goals than Bromley now. And in the beating of Bromley, that becomes a minimum of 7-goal swing, if that makes sense. And we need them to then go on a fairly poor run. So you could theoretically go into the last day of the season already 8, 9, 10 goals ahead of Bromley and 3 points ahead of them. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, it would become an 8-goal swing, wouldn't it? Because obviously we'd gain one, they'd lose one. And yeah, I think that works, right? Because it's a 6-point gap now.
Yeah, we've got 4 games. Yeah. So we could go. Yeah. Okay, fine. Hopefully that made sense. Clear as mud.
It's just exactly. It's just as clear as that, everyone. So I'm sure that's cleared it up for everyone. What's your like? Okay, now put the AI aside and put the sort of maths and logic aside, and what's your heart telling you? What's your heart telling you?
My heart. I don't. Again, almost AI, but it's reassuring to know that we can go and draw that Bromley game and still be in very good shape. Basically, we've kind of earned that right. Obviously, through a really good run of form over winter, but also just by putting Notts away the way we did, it's just reduced the pressure on that Bromley game a little bit. Obviously, if you go and win that Bromley game, then it's like you really are looking at the title. I think you're starting to really think about it at that point because you've just got momentum at that stage. What do I think is going to happen without predicting the game? I don't know. I think it's going to be it's just going to be a tough, horrible game. I think it's like a single goal. It's not the biggest prediction in the world based on the two teams. I think it's a super tight game. I think there's 1 goal in it. If that's us 1-0 up and there's 10 minutes of stoppage time at the end, it's going to be pain. Yeah, it's going to be. You won't be worried about the permutations then. You'll just be head in hands for 10 minutes whilst Bromley probably launch some kind of aerial assault.
Fucking NBA player comes on to.
So I don't know. I mean, it's the football fan inside you looks at last Saturday and just says, "I think we are the best team in the division." Like when we get it right and when all things are going well. Obviously, we're doing this pod before the press has come out, so we don't have up-to-date news on Shane Lavery. The last we heard, obviously, from Harris post-match after Notts was he said that Shane might not start another game this season. I reckon he was probably winking a little bit when he said that because I just don't fully buy that. I feel like if we needed him to, then we would. But again, it's like knowing we can draw against Bromley and be fine says to me that's almost certainly how I expect us to kind of approach the game. And that says Lavery won't start. You kind of go back to that similar lineup we've seen in these aways, and we're holding on to the likes of Lavery, maybe someone like Kai Kai on the bench. You're holding on to some attacking assets on the bench, could be Brophy or Kai Kai, I guess, and then unleashing them on the 65th minute with an aim to try and go and win the game, basically.
I think that's spot on. Well, look, should we get a bit of an insight from opposition and go from there with a preview? I had a chat with From Bromley With Love. It's a big one on Thursday night, use fans, so we need a preview, and we've got the excellent From Bromley With Love podcast here. I'm joined by Michelle. How are you, mate?
Well, I'm gonna say good. I'm gonna say good. What we're about little over 24 hours at the time of recording from when the match kicks off in front of Sky cameras. The nervousness hasn't kicked in yet. But it's weird because we've already gone, as Bromley fans, we've already gone through this once on Saturday against MK Dons, where it's like, oh, if we win, we're up.
Yeah.
But MK Dons felt like a bit of a free hit, whereas Cambridge seems to there's a tiny bit more in it. Because it's at home, it feels like there's a tiny bit more on it than the MK Dons one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. There's a bit more. I bet. Look, I'm sure you're confident enough because you've been brilliant all season. But right in the back of your mind, you're only human. You must just have a bit of, is this a wobble? Is that playing on your mind a little bit ahead of Thursday?
Yes, but only because it's Cambridge. If it was any other team in the league, I'd be confident, completely confident, and I'd be like, yeah, we'll take it. But Cambridge are the only team I've seen us against this season where I thought, yeah, they're better than us. And obviously the league table suggests that Bromley are the best team in the league, right? The table doesn't lie. But Cambridge, I went to the away game at Cambridge. When was that? That was all the way back in like November, not November. October.
Yeah.
I came away from that Cambridge game in October going, yeah, they just beat us up. And funny enough, I was on the train back. I was sat next to because I sneaked into first class. And Bromley's chairman just happened to come and sit down opposite me. And we were talking about the game. And even he was like, yeah, Cambridge looked like a team that's just come down from League One who are actually good. And the consensus was they basically, we tend to Bromley teams. That's the phrase we use. But I felt like Cambridge Bromleyed us and just beat us up all over the pitch.
Well, I think that's the interesting thing about Thursday, isn't it? Because we're both the best two set-piece sides in the league. We're both, exactly as you just said, we've both got that way of playing, that kind of quite marginal games, very physical. And I mean, it's funny you say that because I think as Cambridge fans, we're kind of a bit fearful of what you guys can do to us from set pieces, and we haven't got our first choice keeper on Saturday because he got sent off. Sorry, on Thursday because he got sent off on Saturday. But I tell you what, just before we come on to Thursday itself, why don't you try take us behind the scenes of what this season's been like? Because, like you just mentioned, we played together. We played each other in October, but it's just from the outside looking in, it's just felt like it's kind of come out of nowhere, and it's been one of the most amazing stories kind of in the whole football league, I would say.
Yeah, I don't think what Bromley have achieved this season has even properly hit home yet. And I don't think it's going to hit home for Bromley fans until such a moment happens that we're either, whether it's on Thursday or not on Thursday, that it's confirmed that we've got automatic promotion, or if we happen to win the title. I'm not sure if we will, but if we happen to win the title and we lift the trophy, that's the point at which Bromley fans will go, wait, this is happening.
Yeah.
And the weirdest thing about it, and I'm sure the rest of the contenders in the playoffs and in the league all season, I think they've probably been thinking, surely Bromley can't keep this up. Surely there has to be a drop-off, right? And it just never came.
Yeah.
And arguably the drop-off, right, feels like it's now. But because it never came earlier, we've worked up such a buffer that we can afford to lose the odd game now. And ultimately, right, the proof is in the pudding. Before Thursday's game, we've played 43 games and only lost 6 times. Like, regardless of size of Bromley, the qualities of Andy Woodman as a manager, the tight-knit unit he's created in the dressing room. I think I've said to a couple of fan podcasts of opposition over this season that what's quite interesting about this Bromley side is there's been a few games this season where the starting lineup has included 8 players who were in our National League semi-final eliminator defeat against Chesterfield 3 seasons ago. So I've always said that the foundation of what Bromley have achieved this season is actually based on keeping a core together. This
Yeah.
squad has played together large, with obviously the few additions here and there, but they've largely played together for 3 seasons, and they know like when everyone watches us and they go, how are they so good at just relentlessly just doing the same thing again and again and again and again? It's because they know each other inside out. And you could question, and I don't know if it's the same with Cambridge, you can question sometimes, do we have an effective plan B? And there's a question mark about that for sure. But the plan A is so effective. The few times we've looked around and gone, where's the plan B? But we just haven't needed it. So yeah, that's really the secret behind the success. And also, let's be fair. Let's be fair. I don't know how Cambridge fans feel, but let's be fair. It's not been a vintage League Two. Last season, when we had our first season ever in the Football League, like when we looked at who went up last season, Bradford, Port Vale, Doncaster, maybe not AFC Wimbledon, but the other three. When we looked at the other three, it was like, oh, they're good. Right. But this season, I don't know what you felt when you've seen the oppositions turn up at your gaff or away from home. There's not many teams where have been like, oh, you're good.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But it's funny you say that, and maybe it probably backs your point up, because I think because the points total is going to be higher than last year. Because if you look at last year, I think he needed 77 to finish third.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty sure we're on already. So it will be a bit higher than that, and probably the same to win the league. I don't have it up in front of me. So there's that aspect. But when you then watch it, we've been saying it all season. We've been saying the same thing all season, but we couldn't tell if that was because we'd come down from League One. So we're just comparing the two things, and you're just waiting for someone to impress you. And it's kind of just what the difference between League One and League Two is. But I think you're right. I think what we just talked about a minute ago with sort of set pieces and teams that have that really strong plan A, really good defensively with a good foundation, and are dangerous from set pieces, that does seem to have been the kind of the answer this season, right? If you look at us two, the one thing is I thought MK would completely destroy it. I thought they'd be I thought their budget
would make a bigger difference than and I think they'll get automatic, but I thought they had more about them to just win the league outright.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah. So talk to us about a couple of the players then. So you mentioned all those players that have sort of been part of this core. Who are the ones to kind of watch on Thursday night?
So I can, like I say, similar to what you've kind of described. Grant Smith, he's been really good in goal. I think he's fourth in the league for clean sheets. Omar Sholmi, centre back, and Mitch Pinnock, left winger, are both up for Player of the Season, League Two Player of the Season. So I've got to call them out. Pinnock came from Northampton, and I think he's probably been our most impactful player. Right, when you look at those kind of FOTMOB stats, he leads the league in chances created by a long way. Like he's got 120 something chances created, and the next player's on 70 something. And he leads the league in big chances created, and he looks like, like in amongst League Two, you'll see the odd player here or there. You're like, you're clearly a League One player who happens to be playing in League Two. He's one of them. Right. Yeah. And he you can just tell by everything. A lot of our game plan is about, he does our long throws, he does our set pieces, he does our crosses into the box. And so much of our game plan is about overpowering the opposition from crosses into the box, however they may come off long throws. And most of that comes through Mitch Pinnock. So he's definitely one to watch. I would have said Cheek, but Cheek has had a season-ending injury. Obviously, he swept all the awards last season. Non-league goal-scoring legend, gets his crack at Football League last year, sweeps all the awards. This year, he was leading the way again in goals, but then has had a season-ending injury. But then what's been good about the squad is with Cheek out, the rest have just found a way to step up. And that's probably been the most... That probably actually encapsulates everything about this Bromley side, that we should have had some kind of capitulation after losing our top scorer, and it hasn't really had an impact. We've just got tighter defensively,
Yeah.
and then said we must score one goal surely, and then figured that might be enough to win the game. So, but it's interesting, right? Because when I made that point about Pinnock and his League One quality, I go back to that Cambridge game. I thought that about when we played at your place. You had Kouatsi, and I think Shane Lavery up front.
Yeah.
And I remembered looking at those two going, yeah, but they shouldn't be playing in League Two.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah.
So it kind of felt what Pinnock is for us is what I thought those two were for Cambridge against us. Where it's like those two are clearly playing in a level below their ability. I don't know if that's still the case this season, but it felt like that when we were at Cambridge.
Yeah. It's, I mean, for us, it's like Kouassi's injured for the season, unfortunately, so you don't have him to worry about. But Lavery's just really, really injury prone, so he only kind of plays half an hour, 40 minutes. But I'm just looking at the FOTMA things that you just mentioned for Pinnock. Lavery leads all the goals per 90, XG per 90, all that stuff. But I can't believe that point about Mitch Pinnock. 126 chances created. Next is Liam Kelly of MK on 82.
It's ridiculous.
That's absolutely insane.
It's actually a ridiculous stat. But it shows what Bromley's game plan is, because it's not like Pinnock's only scored one goal. So
wow, yeah.
The game plan is get it to Pinnock and get into the box.
So is it as simple as, if you were, part of Neil Harris's scouting team ahead of Thursday, is it as simple as stop Pinnock, try not to concede many set pieces?
Yes,
win the first contact.
And do you know what? If the neutrals listening to us to have this conversation, they're probably like, what type of football are you lot watching? but literally, right? I think the hallmark, and again, it seems like listening to you, it's the hallmark of Cambridge. The hallmark of our game plan is win first and second contact and get the ball out to Pinnock and get into the box and just overpower them. First and second contact. Win some corners, win some free kicks. We're really dangerous from dead ball situations. And then the recycling from a dead ball. And like I say, it's so interesting. After the MK Dons game, I wrote a report on the game and made reference to Cambridge. And I said in the report to Bromley fans, it'll be very interesting to see how we set up versus Cambridge, because by my estimation, Cambridge are basically Bromley, but with better individual quality and what I meant by that was that I don't see Cambridge playing a different style of game to us. I just think they've got a few more sprinklings of better individual talent who technically should be playing at a better level. Like where some of the Bromley players have come through up from non-league, I look at the Cambridge team and go, yeah, if you lot were suddenly in League One, you wouldn't have to adapt to League One all of a sudden.
I'm with you.
If you see what I mean.
Yeah. But then that's the interesting thing, isn't it? It's like an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. Like who's we're both playing the same styles. So what's going to happen? I mean, what's your instinct for Thursday in terms of how it's going to go?
So Bromley don't batter sides. We haven't done all season. I think we've won one game all two. There's only been 2 games this season where we have dominated a side, right? Came Gillingham away and Crawley away. They're the only 2 games where by half time it was like, oh, we've won this.
Right.
Every other game has been won by like the odd goal. And even if it's a 2-0, it's like one goal early on, another one late on. If you see what I mean, there's not been many 75 minutes. Oh, we've wrapped this one up. Yeah. If you see what I mean. So I would be shocked, absolutely shocked, even if we won on tomorrow, Thursday, I would be shocked if it was an easy victory. It's not happening, right? If I was offered a point right now, I'd take it. Just because I think if we get to 84, whilst it doesn't confirm automatic promotion, I just don't see Notts County or Swindon or whoever else is still. I think it's basically only Notts County, really. I just don't see Notts County catching us on 84.
No,
right?
especially not the way they played on.
With us still having 2 more games to go.
Especially the way they played on Saturday, I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I'm not sure
You
how many
lot
points
battered
they're
them,
picking
right?
up. Yeah.
So, and they're also in the back of my mind, I know that Notts basically have to win all their games now for Bromley to not go up. Really
Yeah.
and truly, that's what has to happen. So in the back of my mind, I'm also like, if Cambridge beat us, it's not the end of the world.
Mhm.
If put it this way, right? If after 75 minutes it's 1-1 or 0-0, I can see Andy saying, "Screw it, let's just settle for the point." Right, rather than pushing for a victory that might make us lose. The question mark is what Neil Harris is thinking. Like, if Neil Harris was offered a point now, would he take it, knowing that Cambridge have a game in hand, albeit I think that's against Grimsby? I suspect he might say yes, I think he might take a point as well.
I think knowing him, I think he would. I don't know how many of the fans would like go on board with that, but it depends if your question is, and I was just going to ask you the same thing, and it sounds like from what you're saying, the most important thing is going up, right? How much is the title in your mind at this ahead of Thursday?
For the majority of the fans, I'd say we don't care about the title. For the majority,
Yeah.
Andy Woodman does care about the title. So he was quite bullish about 2-3 weeks ago. He said after a game, we're going for the title. He says this is about being champions. And he admitted that initially, before the season, the target was reach the playoffs. And I knew that was the internal target. But I think once they realised, hold on a minute, everyone can just MK Dons and Cambridge keep like drawing and just drop. They're not capitalising on when we drop points. So then he was like, wait, we should be going for the title here. So in his mind, this is about going for the title, which is probably, if you're the gaffer, that's the right mentality to have. Because if your projection is let's be champions, you're going up regardless then, because you're trying to actually go for a different. You're not even thinking about, let's make sure we're top 3. You're actually trying to win the league, which makes me think they're going to go up regardless, right? But for Bromley fans, because we're on heralded history-making waters, we just want automatic promotion confirmed as soon as possible.
I mean, yeah. What an opportunity, like on Thursday night to I mean, obviously I hope you don't, but if you do win, an amazing occasion. It must be the biggest day in the club's history, potentially, if you manage
do you know what though? The one thing I'm gutted about is that it's Thursday night.
I know, same.
Let's just say we win. Let's just say, argument's sake, we win. And even if Cambridge win, so okay, let's put it on the Cambridge end first. Let's say Cambridge win, moves them up to what you want at the moment,
77.
So moves you up to 80 with Notts County 4 behind you.
Yeah, and we've got game in hand.
And with a game in hand, right? So if you're a Cambridge fan, you're buzzing.
Yeah.
But it's 10 o'clock at night.
I know, yeah. And you can't even get a train back. Like, there's
what I mean? You're thinking about, sugar, I need to get that train and get home, right? And if you're a Bromley fan, and let's say we win, obviously everyone's running on the pitch. But after about 10 minutes, you're like, wait a minute. It's 10:15 on a Thursday night. Like, I need to go home. I got work tomorrow. I'm a bit gutted that I know why Sky have done it, but I'm gutted that it's been moved to a Thursday night. This should have been like for the magnitude of this game. It feels wrong that it's some random Thursday at the back end of the season just because Sky want it for the cameras.
I completely agree. And then also I noticed that your fixture next week got moved to Thursday as well, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So you guys have been, I mean, yeah, hopefully it doesn't, in a way, I hope it doesn't go down to the last day for you because it should be confirmed by then. But the other part of me thinks like you should get a nice day considering the amazing season you've had. But look, I hope it's not Thursday. Let me just ask to wrap up your score prediction for Thursday night.
1-1.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've got. I completely agree. I think we'll all shake hands at the end of it and go home happy.
Yeah. Listen, you take your point and make sure you get your automatic. We'll take ours and make sure we get our automatic and we can all be friends about this.
Exactly that, mate. Thanks so much for joining and enjoy yourself on Thursday.
No worries. Cheers.
Thanks very much there to the From Bromley With Love lot. The one thing we didn't say in that, which he mentioned as soon as we stopped recording, and he put his head in his hands and he went, I meant to say Harrison Dunk was my favourite Bromley player. And I was like...
Really?
Yeah. He was like, I remember him so clearly. He was like, it's just at the perfect age for me. And he was like, when we went to Cambridge, it was like, when he went to Cambridge, he was like, "Oh, this guy's going to have a big football league career," and blah blah blah. And he was like, just couldn't stop saying how much he loved Harrison Dunk. So we were obviously good pals by that stage. Having said that, so that's worth mentioning. Look, Bromley away. I mean, we've already started talking about it a little bit. It's actually like weirdly a really hard one to preview this, I think, because you look at the way both teams approach football matches and there is a real similarity to it. And I was thinking about, it feels like all season we've said Bromley are going to drop off, Bromley are going to drop off. Michael Cheek gets injured for the rest of the season, they don't drop off. They sell their centre back in January, they don't drop off. They're unbeaten at home for a calendar year now, as you said earlier. Their home form is ridiculous this season. I mean, it's not actually quite as good as ours in terms of points, but played 21, won 13, drawn 8 and lost none. 1 point worse off than us. But then the other hand of that says, in recent weeks, they're like, if you want to look at some of the underlying data, I mean, just in terms of the form table, they're ninth in the last 10 games form table. We're 10th though, and they're 12th in the last 5 games, 1-2, drawn 1, lost 2. One of those away at Barrow, and then the other one at MK on the weekend. If you want to get a bit more technical, not the top 20s, XG ratio tables are quite interesting. Last 5 games, they're 14th in the XG ratio, so the quantity of XG that they're having in games. And over last 10 games, they're 12th, and we're second in that. So it's just to say that the way they approach games is not at all to dominate them, and the preview there said as much. How do you expect us to approach it in terms of, we know that their threats are set pieces, we know the threats are their height and their physicality, and we know that they approach us with a sort of defensive first mindset with a lot of marginal games. But do you see Harris thinking, well, there is an argument that we have the better technical footballers, especially in the middle of the park. One team's going to need to have the ball more than the other. Do you think there's an argument where he approaches it with like, well, let that be us. Maybe that's not the way we normally play, but that's how we should approach this game and try and dominate it with the ball at our feet at least?
I really hope you're right. And there's total logic to it, right? It's like, we can't probably out Bromley.
Exactly.
Bromley. It's probably a mistake
exactly
to out Bromley because they're top of the league and they've got their formula and they've got a really, set menu approach to football, I guess.
I was just going to say that's a better way to approach it. It's like, either do you play them at their own game and think you're better than them at it, or do you kind of adapt a way that we play to be a bit more dominant with the ball?
Yeah, I just think almost it might not be that linear like we might. I expect us to set up very similar to a lot of recent away games, which has been in the, if you look at the long term without zooming in on specific, like Barnet, for example, it's been a very successful approach to football matches. So I could sort of see Harris being pretty content with a fairly physical stalemate style, I guess, first half, first hour even. I do just think then you're backing yourself to have that quality coming off the bench to come and, show that class and show that technical ability and that desire to move the ball and play slightly more technical football. You bring in Lavery on. Lavery should be really high on confidence. Gibbons, obviously, we've got Cafu at right back. Exactly. Centre back or whatever. Let him free. Let him loose. I do just think almost though it's like you're not trying to out Bromley, but you're just trying to keep the game very stable for as long as you can and give yourself that half-hour run at trying to win it, get the subs on, and then do exactly what you're talking about, but don't do it until you're an hour into the game, basically. It's trying to hit them with a bit of a wave of attacking subs and attacking impetus, I guess. Whether that's going to work, I don't know. I think that's very conditional on not going like 1-0 down. I think conceded goal would be very difficult in this style of game because I just think if you're going into that last hour but you're 1-0 down or a goal down and then you're having to try and sort of, I imagine they're very hard to break down if they have a lead, basically. Obviously a lot of teams are, but if you give Bromley a lead at home, and also worth mentioning, obviously a Bromley win promotes them. So yeah, they've got plenty to be going for and plenty of momentum on their side as well. I don't know. First goal, as always, but first goal very crucial, it feels like, between two teams who are very defensive minded. I don't know. I hope you're right. I do think it would be more successful to start on the, almost a bit like not start a lot more
Mm.
front foot if you've got Lavery fit enough and you think he can do it. And, it's all soft tissue, isn't it? Harris will just be knocking on the door. We'll ask him,
Get
how
out
do you
there,
feel,
Shane.
Shane? Shane, how do you feel? Um, and that'll be enough, clearly. So, I don't know. It's one of those, you say it is hard to preview because there's a real like head and heart.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's
like we
right.
come on these pods and we say a draw would be a fine result, but we're lying, aren't we? Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Not lying, but like we're lying to ourselves. Um, we're not, we don't work for the club. We don't have to do that media trained bullshit. It's like, please just go there and win. Just give us like, it's like give us the memory. Do you know what I mean? Go there, be attacking, be aggressive, expansive, all those words you want to use for please start Shane Lavery, please start our best attacking players, and try and win the football match from like minute one. Because I don't know, it's tough. Our approach has worked well all season. Maybe we're getting greedy. Knots was just brilliant. You just want to see four more performances just like Knots, basically.
Yeah.
Go rampage and win the title. Maybe head in the clouds a little bit with that one.
It's got a bit of, it's just occurred to me, it's got a bit of midweek in April chasing promotion from League Two away day in London. It's got a bit of balcony gate to it.
Balcony action. Don't force me to talk about the balcony.
Imagine,
and then roll your eyes.
but it's got that sort of like I actually can't remember the list of results and the order in which they came from off the top of my head. You might have a better memory than me, but I do remember going into that Orient game thinking, well, the scale of the game was it was about
That was
four
like the
out,
tipping-
wasn't it? It was
it
about
the-
four
it was-
games out.
It was about 4 out. It was well, after that was the chaos, right? After that was
Stevenage, yeah.
Harrogate.
So it was 4 out, yeah.
Yeah, so it is very similarly positioned. I mean,
Yeah.
all jokes aside about the balcony, it was great to be on the balcony watching the game. For anyone who doesn't know, there were 6 of us on there, obviously COVID, rule of 6, but
Yeah.
Airbnb balcony and so on. And 5 other United fans posted on another balcony, including friend of the pod, Max Rushton. So 11 capacity crowd total. Great fun. But obviously we'd have taken like 2,500 or 3,000. We'd have packed out the entire side of that ground and you go and win it like that. I mean, it was a hell of a game. You would just be talking about that for years and years, where we still don't really talk about that game that much because no
No.
one was really there, if you know it. Well, I mean, I talk about it all the time, honestly, but you know what I mean? It hasn't like written itself into United folklore in quite the same way, because it wasn't heavily spectated in the same way. So, but yeah, no, I like what you're saying. I mean, a lot of comparisons with Maidstone as well. I think that's just like partly geographic, partly like season situation for some of
Yeah.
our slightly
Oh,
older fans
yeah.
like George.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm
yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
look, speaking of, past United promotion seasons, there's another thing that happened today that is in common with that, and that's emergency loan goalkeepers. Jack Walton in on an emergency loan, if I can say it properly. Interesting point, first of all, that by the rules, he has to start this game by...
Didn't know that.
I didn't know that
That's
either.
new information. Yeah.
Yeah. So he will be in goal on Thursday night. Where do you stand on this as a decision?
Well, you say he'll be in goal. All it says he has to start, mate.
Yeah.
Get him
He
up
starts
top.
up top.
6'2",
Amazing.
mate. Get him up top. Get Hughesy a run out. There's a few bits to unpick with this, isn't there? Firstly, I think it's just very hard on Hughes, right? Who came in and did basically nothing wrong on Saturday. Kept a clean sheet. Didn't have tons to do.
I was going to say, despite no shots on target, but sure, I guess.
Well, yeah,
Well,
but
he did what he had to do. He did.
He
What
claimed a few high balls though. You were
Yeah.
busy. You in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
you put about 7
No,
pints
no, no,
deep
he
in
did
the
well.
Irish
I'm
bar,
not-
mate. Yeah, no, he did fine.
I'm not
Like,
criticising him.
he did everything he was asked of. Obviously, that 10-minute spell before half time was a bit wobbly, but adrenaline would just be all over the place.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
basically called off the bench in our biggest game of the season.
Yeah.
The keepers don't really warm up, do they? During the half, so you just
No, straight
gone from
on.
sat on your ass where you've been for the last 7 months or whatever to suddenly like in front of a capacity crowd, biggest
Yeah.
home crowd in 30 years. The Abbey is gonna like make you a bit wobbly. Firstly, I just think it's a bit harsh. Secondly, I think it's a bit weird for like squad morale, team morale. You've got this guy all season. Like, if you're now another one of our players who's sort of perennially on the bench, I know it's a bit different with goalkeepers, obviously, but I don't know what message it sends. But fundamentally, you just got to be pragmatic, right? This is now our biggest game of the season, and a very big football match for the club. Bromley obviously is sort of slightly not unique, but possess this really big physical presence. One thing you will say about Hughes, and it's not entirely fair necessarily, not really seen him play, is that he didn't look big, physical big. He's obviously on the younger side. He's got a bit of time still to fill out, I guess. So again, it's like head and heart. Heart says it's a bit harsh on Hughes to not get an opportunity. Head says it's our biggest game of the season. Bromley are very physical. You want someone with a bit of nous and experience. And you're going to assume that Hughes has taken that okay, is what I would say. I do think it's just hard work being especially goalkeeper, because obviously there are such a finite number of goalkeepers, right?
Well, where do you stand on the fact that, like, I saw a few people saying the reason that they don't like this is because what Hughes, okay, yeah, maybe he doesn't have the experience or maybe even the height, but what he has done is trained with the defence all season, been part of the squad all season, whereas this bloke's just been airlifted in the 24 hours before the game. Do you stand that it's a bit different for keepers to outfield players?
It's a bit different for keepers. I think it's a bit over. I think it's a bit overplayed. This one, like it might lead us to a more pragmatic approach. But I think if Hughes was in goal, you wouldn't be seeing thigh passes. I think they'd all be taken totally off the menu anyway. Like Harris, knowing Harris, a bit old school, would be like nothing silly. Do you know what I mean? So I'm expecting, irrespective of who's in goal, in that exact situation that Mayer was in against Notts last weekend, I'd be like, they're hooking that ball. I don't see any world, unless we're 1-0 down, there's 10 minutes to go, and you place a bit more value on like actually keeping the thing. I think we'll be hooking those balls. I think it might be the plan somewhat anyway to not mess around with it. Like if you know you've got playing against a team as a big set piece threat, spend as much of your energy getting the ball out of your own half as you can. And I really think we're going to see that. I think we're going to be launching the ball sort of towards Apare, but mostly like out the ground, off the sides. I do just think it'll be one of those weird stop-start games, ball not in play very much. I think that probably suits us. And I think that piece about keepers having like chemistry with the defenders, I think it's just a little bit, it's just a bit overstated. It's all just to do with confidence as much as anything. Like, do the defenders trust the goalkeeper? And if the answer to that is no, you usually see that in exactly those moments. It's how those clearances are done, or are they going to back pass it to this guy? Maybe, maybe not. Certainly not under pressure. So I think we'll know soon enough. Also, I think a couple of days of training, I know it sounds a bit flippant, but it's enough to get a sense of like, do you trust this guy? Basically, like, has he come into training? He's probably been training all week, even though they've only announced it now, but I'm sure they've had a plan for this already. Even a bit of speculation, we didn't play Hughes in most of the cup games to maintain eligibility for the whole season to get an emergency loan keeper.
Yeah,
being suggested, which is interesting if there's anything in that. The club obviously wouldn't tell us either way, but
the other much smaller aspect to this, but I just think it's probably worth mentioning, is there an aspect where if the worst were to happen and Hughes were to get sent off, you've got JJ Briggs, I think it would be third keeper.
It would be JJ Briggs, presumably anyway. I mean,
presumably.
Yeah. Or we don't even know. Like, let's be honest, we don't know if Briggs could be injured at the moment. Like, we've got not a clue, and there could be a ton of that. And obviously, we don't control those emergency loan rules. Like, if you have to start the player, you've got to start the player. So to be honest, I mean, the way they've expressed this to Hughes is probably exactly that, right? They've probably just gone, look, worried about JJ. You know, there's a way of making it quite a soft landing for.
I completely agree.
We're a bit worried about Briggs.
I feel like Hughes would get it as well, because it's like we're right at the business end of a season. I think if this happens in September, Hughes plays the game, and there's no question about it. I think Hughes has got to understand there's a bloke who's come from, what is it, Carnarvon Town? I can't remember, somewhere in Wales, right?
I think that's right.
He's at the start of his progression. I'm sure he's like, what Saturday did would be done him the world of good in terms of both the confidence and the experience in playing in a fixture like that, as you rightly just said. And I think for us, if we've left the door open to be able to go and sign a guy who, okay, I don't know a lot about this Jack Walton guy. He broke through at Barnsley. He's got 50-ish championship appearances on his slate. Played plenty of times in League Two. He's just done 2 full seasons on loan at Dundee United, Scottish champ and the Scottish Premiership. So it's not like it's cut and dry. I can totally understand people, and I can totally understand where you started your answer from. With it does feel a touch harsh on Hughes, but I honestly think he would. I think he would completely understand why we've gone and made this decision. And then there's that smaller factor that if Hughes were to get sent off and suddenly you're left with Briggs in goal, and it's not just the occasion, it's not just the fact it's the business end of the season, it is what the unique proposition that Bromley are as a team. And I think from set pieces, especially, if you said maybe, you know, in those 10 minutes when he first came on, and that was a unique situation, Hughes might have been a little bit nervy. You'd imagine that Walton would be a bit less nervy, because maybe there's something about coming in so cold that's actually a positive thing, and he can take the emotion out of the game and not feel the sort of pressure quite so much. So I think it's one of them. Yeah, I think it's like, I can totally see why it's harsh on Hughes, but I can completely understand why the club's gone and done it. And in an ideal world, it would just be Jake Eastwood, and we wouldn't be having this conversation. But it's not an idea. It's not an ideal world, and this is the position we're in. So look, that's kind of the biggest talking point. What would you do in terms of lineup apart from that? Lavery is probably the only one here to really discuss, I think.
I don't think it's what we will do. I think we'll be back to the sort of the blueprint, the away setup that you're expecting, if that makes sense. So I think it'll be Apare. I think they'll be looking to bring those lads off the bench. I imagine the rest will be basically unchanged from Barnet. Obviously no Eastwood, but Walton in goal, then Gibbons, Watts, Joe, Bennett, and Panzu Ball, Mayer, Knight, Kai, Apare.
Yeah.
Attacking reinforcements to come in the format like Brophy, and possibly Nevitt, maybe. God.
I think that's it. I think that's spot on.
Close. And then Labs, basically. It's all on Labs. Just get him on, watch him win the game.
Yeah.
It'd be brilliant, wouldn't it?
Imagine that. Go on, prediction, and then let's wrap it up and get there.
0-0.
Oh,
a 0-0. A 0-0. A new
Yeah.
thing when Harris does a 0-0, it's called a 0-0 because he's set us up for 0-0. We get it.
I'm going 1-1, but I think we're going to equalise late, and we'll feel quite good about it. And I think it'll be Lavery. Right, we better wrap this up. Enjoy the game, anyone who's going. I think there's a bit of a contingent. I think Jordan Swindle are going down to the Swan. If anyone fancies buying them a pint, if you're not a Coconut Tier member, or become a Coconut Tier member at undertheabbeystand.com for extra pods and written content. Come on, United.
Yeah, that's right.